So if you don't remember this, I made a short where I showed some fails, and this one in particular really frustrated me. I was on a time constraint trying to get a certain amount done, and I made extras, but not enough. Not to mention that everything was going wrong that day, so that's fun. So I'm going to show you how to fix this now janky looking piece. The first thing you want to do though is to inspect it and make sure that there's no structural damage or cracks, because that's not as reversible as we'd like it to be. Now mine is structurally sound with no cracks, so I'm going to stick this cup back down inside the turds that are already attached to the mat and see if it's still centered. Using water to cement the piece to the clankers, aka clay anchors, is both helpful and not at the same time.
I'm going to cement you down, you little piece of poop.
Sometimes the clay will permanently attach itself to the piece, which is a whole nother issue, but if you can just minimally wet both pieces of clay together at the top of the clankers, just enough to attach the two, you shouldn't have too much of a problem.
Let's try this again, shall we? Wait.
Before you go ham, just trimming everything off. Always do the wiggle test, and that's why I'm in this predicament in the first place. The wiggle test just helps us to know it's not going anywhere. Now that this is in place and not going anywhere, start trimming like normal, with the only difference being that you'll have to be a little bit more conscious of the bumps and divots from getting slung around on the wheel, because that was fun. Like normal, make sure that you're going full speed and you are anchored in your hips with your elbows so that the clay doesn't bump you around, making your arms move. Just like in throwing, you want to be shaping the clay and not letting the clay shape you. When I trim, I don't only focus on the bottom, but smoothing the sides as well. However, because those clankers are there, we can't go all the way to the top or even halfway down the cup sometimes. So what I like to do is trim like normal at the base, and then as I go further toward the top, I taper my grip and pressure so that I'm trimming less and less off as I go down. That way you're still trimming, but the points between trimmed and not trimmed are blended with no gouges or sharp edges from trimming too much off. Now watch carefully and you can see what I'm talking about. You'll see less and less shavings as I go down. Once I'm ready to trim the bottom, I will level out the base so I have a nice smooth foot ring, marking out where that will be, and then working on trimming out the rest. Now, when you're trimming the interior of the foot, you want to be aware of how thick it is so you don't accidentally trim a hole in your piece. This is an intentional measurement that should be accounted for when the piece is originally thrown. However, if you don't know how thick it is, tap the bottom and tap the sides and listen to the difference. You want to get them as close as you possibly can. Okay, did you hear the difference in the pitch of my wheel just then? Well, I may or may not have been going full speed earlier. Okay, you caught me. I wasn't going full speed, which you really should, but I was scared, okay? Anyhow, I'm going full speed now, and that way nothing turns out lumpy with any inconsistencies that may be in my grip. Notice that I'm only working on the right side of the piece. That is because the clay is moving counterclockwise, and I want the clay to go out and away from the edge of my trimming tool and not into it. If it's going into it, the clay will catch that trimming tool and you'll end up with gouges. Also notice that I'm not going past the center for the same reason. Always going from the center, working outwards. Now that I'm done trimming and satisfied with my foot, I'm going to take a sponge to the bottom and sides while it's still on the wheel. This will smooth over any imperfections still left. Be sure to use medium to light pressure as to not bend the clay, and I like to bend the sponge over my thumb to make a taco shape for the foot. Now let's take it off and smooth over the rest with a sponge.
Forgot I cemented you on there. Okay.
This is what I was talking about with cementing the clankers to the piece, but as you saw, it popped right off. The reason being that neither the piece nor the clankers were wet where they were touching, but I only blended them together at the very edge where they were touching. That's important. Now, if you go over it too much, you will make a hole in your pottery because the sponge is a light abrasive surface that's technically taking away minuscule layers at a time. So be aware of how thin it's getting and don't use too much pressure, or you will either bend it, break it, or wear a hole in it faster. While I finish cleaning up my piece, I would like to take a moment to just say thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please be sure to hit the like button or smash it, whatever you feel, because I worked really hard on these videos and it really helps me and helps the algorithm know to push it to other people if a bunch of people are liking it. And it really helps me to know what you guys like and don't like when I post things. So, yeah. Oh, and if you don't know who I am, I'm Emily. Hi, I'm the Potter Eden. And yeah, I really hope that you like my channel and maybe subscribe, and I'll be seeing you here more often. And then you'll become part of my pottery posse. Okay, y'all, now we are ready for the best part, the final reveal. I'm sorry that I didn't show you my bisque firing or glazing or my glaze firing, but here it is. It looks so awesome, and look at how it came out. I mean, really, those colors, they're perfect. Chef's kiss. And I am just so happy you can't even see any imperfections at all. It's like the accident never even happened. And dude, you can't even tell that it totally flung off the wheel. But I guess that's all for today. But until next time, stay creative, my friends. Bye.